Peter Taylor checking in from New York City. Julia, Bob Walker checking in as well from North Texas. We have Jody Shields standing by patiently at the other end of our Skype connection today. He's live from, as you may have seen in the promo that I put up on Facebook earlier, he's live from Christchurch, from the Sail GP venue. I think he's going to give us a bit of a walk around. We're going to talk right here at the top of the show about what's going on down there. Jeff Kitson, hello to you. Clayton Embley, Julia thanks you for your cream bourbon, your bourbon cream.
Ah, yes.
Jeff Kitson, we mentioned. Alan Long in the northeastern corner of Ohio. Christopher Gillingham and Jane in Leamington. Rick Bannerow in soon-to-be drenched and snowy Connecticut. Man, they're getting a storm up there. Let's get this one through the proverbial starting line. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's a good one, 696. And just at the last minute, we were able to get Jody on. He's got a fantastic announcement relative to Sail GP. He's going to tell us about that. Julia, I trust you are well.
I am, thank you.
We're live once again from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, where it's a bit overcast, and we're going to get a lot of rain this weekend too, but who gives a flying... what, Julia? A flying fudge?
Lots of people do.
They do indeed. And Jody, got to stabilize that camera if you can when you give us the walk around. We're going to go to Jody in a sec. More Stevens checking in from sunny but cool Halifax. Ed Worley in SoCal. J. Frederick Bland in Austin, Texas. Alistair Murray, the president of the Australian Yachting Federation, is on from presumably Melbourne, because he's off to a bike ride, Julia. Fritz Mueller down in Miami, Clark Chapin in snowy Plymouth, Michigan. And on and on and on. I'm your host, Tom Eamon. We're delighted to have you here for this show number 696 as we close in on 700. And it's a packed show. We really got some great news from, and a Bravo Zulu from Jody and more today. We got, I think, a total of three Bravo Zulus. Cool stuff going on in the sport, but let's start right off the bat with what's going on, because we have a brand new radio show coming from Sail GP starting today. It's Saturday down there in Christchurch, and of course, Sail GP in New Zealand is this weekend. It's their home stand there for Pete Burling and co. It's called On the Lock, what Sail GP fans have been waiting for. It features Jody Shields and Chris Steele, and he's going to tell you who else is in his cast of characters. But bloody hell, we're going to have commentators, real sailing commentators, using the words like tack and jibe and knots, and not some of the other automotive terms that we get from our dear friend and foesy, Jody Shields, who was a Sail GP commentator on the telecast, and now he has convinced Russell let him do this new gig. I'm just going to read you the promotion that was sent out this morning by Jody. I am so excited to announce the launch of Sail GP on the Lock. Julie, you know what that means, on the lock?
No.
It's a halyard lock. When you pull your sail up to the top of the mast,
Yeah.
it used to be that you then tie off the halyard, the rope or the wire that pulls the sail up, but that puts a lot of compression load on the mast because you got that wire inside the mast or the rope, and it starts to bend the mast and so on. So now modern race boats have little locks at the top of the mast. You hoist the top of the mainsail up to it, and a ball goes in a hook or some other device.
Theoretically.
Well, and that's the problem, is it sometimes it latches and sometimes it doesn't. But in Jody's case, his Sail GP on the Lock commentary, I'm sure, is going to latch.
Yes.
It's an independent pirate radio show giving a complete, new, refreshing take on Sail GP commentary that's as lively as three mates watching the races live at the pub. Only Jody would put something like that.
Which is terrific.
It is terrific indeed. The show will be hosted by Jody and Chris Steele, giving a sailor's perspective of the racing, and we are joined by seasoned sports reporter and Olympian Anna Wilcox, and it's her job to keep the two dudes in line. We'll see. Our show will kick off this weekend for the New Zealand event covering both race days, which today, Saturday, and Sunday down under. We believe that On the Lock will fill a gap for sailors and sailing fans, offering an authentic and relatable commentary experience with insider knowledge that's unlike anything else out there currently. And he goes on to say, Jody does, that we will be using real sailing terminology. Yes, we will be using knots, hopefully tack and jibe and a few other things, and hopefully providing you, the fan, with a pure sailing-based commentary that will also have a fun element sprinkled throughout it. Mm-hmm. It will be raw, it will be fun, but most of all, it will be just sailors talking about sailing. What could possibly go wrong, hey? We also have some brand new social media for you to follow, and he gives both the links. We don't have them here in the slide, but the Facebook Sail GP on the Lock, I saw that today. I joined that. Go on there and join that Facebook page. Follow it so you get the notifications when they go live. And also Instagram, Sail GP on the Lock. And please welcome live from Christchurch our Fozy and by now dear friend Jody Shields. Jody, welcome. Congratulations.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm not sure they'll be able to take up my end of the bargain after listening to that, Tom.
Well, you wrote it, so you better take it up.
I wrote it.
Okay, you're going to get us seasick. Even if we have to look up your nose, stabilize your camera there, Jody. I know it's early down there.
Doing this with my iPhone because it's all last minute. So anyway, it's very exciting. We've finally got this thing on the road, and let's see what we can do. It's been a bit of a mission getting to today, but I mean, it's proof of concept at this stage, and we think we've got something that we can provide for all those sailors out there. So we'll soon see.
Well, we will, and I know you will be great. And the Fozy are all checking in here. Pedro Foiling Sailor, who's your mate and probably neighbor there, he says, I'm here in the background walking along Manly Beach. Can't wait to hear Jody banging the corners this afternoon. Jody rocks, Stingray says. I will definitely listen to his commentary while watching the live show. Turn down the audio on the TV and watch the video from the TV, from the broadcast, but we'll be listening to Jody and Mr. Steele.
That's the plan. Like, there's a fair bit of technology that we've had to get into place, and hopefully it all comes together. But yeah, that's exactly right, Tom. You turn the TV up if you don't want to listen to Todd and Stevie, who are doing the corporate type broadcast. You turn their volume down, you hit our link, and then away we go. We're following the broadcast schedule, so we'll be on live at 3:00 this afternoon, and we'll be pretty much following it right through to the end. There may be an opportunity for us to babble on with a bit more at the end of it, but we have to pretty much stick to the script as far as the racing's concerned. So, and then what will happen is the link, obviously it's not live until 3:00, but then after the racing, we'll be able to post it. So people who aren't watching the racing live as it happens will be able to also whack it on YouTube or however they watch it, and grab our link. Hopefully, if all the technology works, and I stress that because it's all fairly new and all fairly untried at this stage, but we've been assured that it's going to work. So. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, hopefully it'll be half as good as the link we have now. If you can just rest your hand down on the table, even if we're looking up at the sky, it's okay. The link will be, according to the Facebook post I saw this morning, Jody, the link will be live during the broadcast window, but will also be available off the social media pages we just mentioned for your listening pleasure whenever you like. So it's available in replay. So the idea, as you said, is to turn it on the TV, turn down the volume, and crank up the link to the audio. And you have asked that we all spread the word. You'd love it if we could spread the word about the radio show. And as Greg Newman, Father Newman, just commented, he says, we can now turn down the audio on the TV and we can listen to your commentary, and we'll get an understanding of what's really going on. And that is good news.
Yeah, I mean, the people in the team, as myself, as you said, Chris Steele, he's a well-renowned match racer from here in New Zealand. Chris has got a lot of technical knowledge in both, match racing and fleet racing, so he's awesome. He done a bit of commentary in season 1 and also in the America's Cup, in the past America's Cup that was here in Auckland. And Anna Wilcox, Anna's an Olympian from New Zealand. She's basically born into a sailing royalty family. Her father was Pete and Blair's coach, and he's now the coach of the Spain team. So Anna's sailing background, apart from, she's got a bit of knowledge, but she's obviously not super in it. She was a downhill winter skier, surprisingly. Now she's a mother, about to have a baby in about, I think 4 weeks. But so she's locked in the studio up at Sky where she works, and she'll be trying to keep me and Chris in check. So we had a little rundown yesterday. We had some tech issues, as always happens. Tom, you know that better than anyone. And but we think it's going to work. We're just stuck out here in the little table. They asked where we wanted to be, and I said I want to be out in the open, out in the raw. I want to hear people hear wind in me, a little bit of wind in my microphone or whatever, a bit of ambience. And it's exactly like we said in the preamble. It's going to be more so just 3 people having a chin wag about sailing in the pub. So we'll use knots, we'll use jibes, we'll use tacks. We'll possibly say the occasional, not curse word, but we might say bugger and poo and holy shit, who knows?
Oh.
But no, there's my first finger wag, Julia. But that's basically, what we're going to try to provide. I know everyone's been banging on about the broadcast, and I sort of, they're very, I'm not sticking up for them in any stretch, but they're very tied to a corporate way of doing it. And I just seen an opening in the market, and myself and Russell had discussions, and thanks to him, he's allowing us to do this. But it's we're not associated with Sail GP as such, but he is allowing us to do this. So I think it's a great opportunity, and hopefully we can provide something that everybody likes. And that's what we've asked in the post, is that people share it, because the only way that they're going to see whether it's a success is the numbers. You like it and we get a bit of a following, well, that's proof of concept right there, and we can move forward to the next events and so on and so forth. So that's my spiel out there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all, I hope you enjoy it. I hope the tech works, and let's go. I can't wait. I'm really excited.
Julia?
It should be. Yeah. Somebody asked if the link would be better on broadcast than it is on streaming, because he said the delays and.
No, I think he means the other way around.
So what we're probably going to have to do, depending on how you're watching it, we asked this question in our numerous meetings we've had. So you basically turn your TV on and pause it at a certain spot, get our audio on, link it together, because if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or whatever you're watching on Foxtel, obviously there's going to be the syncing issue, because we're not the direct audio from the screen, I guess.
When you did Jody, when you did the rehearsal yesterday, the tech check, was their video ahead of your audio or vice versa?
They were delayed on but what we're doing, we're delayed to our actual stream. We're using this system called Spork SPK, which is a New Zealand-based company came up with it. It's an online program to do commentary, so you can have commentators pretty much set up anywhere, and they can dial in and you just look at the screen and you can converse with each other. You can mute. You can have a producer talking to you in the ear, all that sort of stuff. You can change your volumes up and down. So it's pretty cool, but because it's coming from the broadcast, into their system, and what we are seeing a slight delay. But I mean, what we're talking about the boats out live in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll be, we can actually see the racetrack. So we'll be no doubt referring to the monitor for certain things, replays like what happened yesterday. I'm not sure if you're aware of the collision of the GBR boat, but, it happened on the other side of the harbour away from us. So we had to jump in on the screen and look, but we're pretty much just going to call it as we see it. And then, we're providing a radio show, which we need to focus on, I guess, and then people can throw the visual on top of it if they so choose. So there might be a delay, but I mean, it's just another option that people can use.
Okay, well, we'll tune in and check that out, and maybe I'll be watching live tonight. It's at 7 o'clock Pacific time, 1900 Pacific. They go to air a few minutes, like 9 minutes before that, but the racing starts at the top of the hour, I believe. So that's 1900 our time. That's 2200 on the East Coast. That's 0200 UTC, Saturday morning in Europe. And let's maybe when we go watching this tonight, I'll certainly be here on Facebook messaging and on my own personal texting. And maybe if there is a significant delay, if it's only a few seconds, no big deal. But if there's a significant delay, we can
work on it.
Yeah, we'll work on it ourselves and see if we can help the Fozy to get you as close as possible, real time.
Set working on the broadcast schedule, so we that was all discussed about how we're going to do it. So if people are watching it live on whatever streaming device or whatever they're using, we can't control obviously the timing that it's coming through from different areas. Some people might be 30 seconds late on their broadcast on their end, but we're going to be right on 3 o'clock. We'll be kicking off here in New Zealand, and I think the first race is 3:07 today. So we've got 7 minutes to babble on and introduce ourselves and get everyone excited, and then talk about sailing boats in front of us, and that's pretty much all it is. We're not going to be a blow-by-blow type show. We're just going to talk about what we see, what we feel is happening. The other thing that came up yesterday was the fact that some things were on screen, but myself and Chris noticed things going off the screen, and we tried to build that up a little bit, and then just the way things work out, the director finally gets to what we were talking about, and then, it all sort of lines up. So the feedback from yesterday seemed fairly positive, but, we're in the lap of the gods on what these boats provide to us out the front of you. And I tell you what, speaking of that, this is an amazing venue. I'll just grab my phone and hopefully not too. I'm just gonna. So this is how close we are to the water, and those markers out here. That's the obstruction that caused a bit of dramas yesterday with the boats, because we were sailing from down here. It was a sort of southerly, so the bottom mark was down there and the top marks were up there. But dead set, the finish is about not even 100 metres out here. So the boats came in here yesterday and they had to pull up in a hurry. And that's the Adrenaline Lounge right here. So all the VIPs go in there. And I'm not sure if you can see right down the bottom there, they've got a stage set up. Dave Dobbin's playing there tonight, and some other mob tomorrow. And they're going to play music between races. And they've created this real carnival atmosphere. It's really cool. But I tell you what, this Lilliton, mate, if you ever want to come down to New Zealand and check out some pretty cool countryside, this is nice.
Yeah, I know. I've been to Christchurch. It is nice indeed. And I'm going to cover an article that Ed Worley sent me an hour or so ago. Maybe you saw it, Jody, that Russell has given an interview to One News in New Zealand saying that Christchurch probably will not be renewed, that he's having problems apparently with local regulations and some of the other. Well, we'll get into that later in the show today. But Rob Fry is asking, will Jody be watching the onboards as well as the main TV feed?
There is a plan in the future to possibly give us some onboards, but what we're definitely going to have access to the coaches, which are literally sitting right beside us in the coach booth.
So can you show us the coach booth?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just. There's our beautiful little setup, which they're saying, look, we just said give us a table, and they even put a cover over just to make it. I said that is perfect. Can you see it there? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I said we want to just sit here. The racing's there. We want to have, it's brilliant. So I'll just cruise in here. So there's 2 banks of stands. I think there's about 9,000 people or something coming.
Yeah, Russell has said he said he sold out both days at 11,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So this is coaches now. They used to go out in the boat and do their things in the boat. But I spoke to a few of the coaches and they're really impressed with this because it gives them more options. They didn't realise how how good it is, And so they all sit here side by side with each other, got their cans on and all the screens, give them all their, their views and whatnot. And I was having breakfast this morning with Kyle Langford, and Kyle mentioned that, they said it's brilliant because they can literally dive straight into the settings from the other boats between races. And then the coaches say, well, this is what England were using, for instance, or France were using. And, that's possibly why they were quick in that race. So the teams can literally, change things up and go straight for it. So, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's like the pit. It's like the pit wall in Formula One, or the engineers back in the garage, or even engineers back at the base, all talking with each other, including through their what NASA would call their capsule communicator, or their team lead, who's talking to the pilot or the driver. What are you going to call them, Jody? Drivers, pilots, skippers, helms? Have you decided?
Mate, they're bloody sailors, mate. They're normally wombats, the skippers, so we're going to just call them whatever we feel like it at the time. We're certainly not going to call them drivers. I made a comment. Someone said, please do not say 3 times defending champion or whatever Todd always says. And I said, I'll give you the promise, if I ever say it, I'll punch myself in the face. So, we're just going to talk. We're just going to talk as I'm talking now, Tom. We're going to see boats. Boats are going to have shockers. They're going to put it in the water. We're just going to literally be like a couple of people sitting in a pub having a chin wag about some sailing events, and that's happening right in front of us. So,
where's the technical base, Jody? Is it far away?
Yeah, no, it's through here.
I understood it was close by at this venue.
Yeah, everything's here. Everything's literally here. I'll just I might shake because I'm literally just using
this is technically called Littleton. I guess the Kiwis would know that.
Look at it. It's just this big. It's just full of mountains and all these houses up the top of you. It's so beautiful. I'm guessing they get snow here because I tell you what, yesterday was bloody cold. It was ridiculously cold because it was coming out of the south, and it just literally pumped. But everyone's starting to. We're here fairly early this morning. We've got a tech check going on, but I'll just walk you out the back.
You're not going to lose the connection, do you?
Here, so.
Don't lose the connection. This is brilliant. I don't want to lose you.
I don't know.
Are you on Wi-Fi or on the cell system? We're starting to get dodgy. Maybe
I was using Wi-Fi over there, but
maybe you better go back the other direction so we don't lose you. Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. your mate, Pedro Foiling Sailor, asking, Jody, are you going to give the drivers nicknames like they do in rugby league?
Yep. Yeah, we're already, we've already got a couple from yesterday's debacle. So Captain Chaos is going to be Giles.
Giles Scott.
He had a bit on yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a video. I got a video from their team, not about the praying, but tell us what happened in the praying with the Brits.
You can see there the Spanish boat's getting repaired at the back. So basically, what happened? That's the tech center's literally right behind. So the boats roll out there. They're sharing tents, which is a bit of an unusual setup, but there's not enough room for all the tents. So basically, one boat goes inside the tent at night, and the other boat stays outside. And then the teams have a side each where their shipping containers, where their warm up and all their gear goes. Where normally they have the whole hangar to themselves, but they're just a little bit limited in space here. And you see the cranes out the back there where they roll the boats all the way across there and then lift up. The Adrenaline Lounge fan shop and up the top there is where the media centre is. What was your question? Sorry, Tom. Oh, what happened yesterday? Basically, in the last race, they were tacking up along that eastern shore, and it was pretty puffy. There's a lot of holes out there, and it was pretty tricky over the back here. And Great Britain and Spain, Derby Cross, Spain went out. Then Great Britain popped onto port, and then pretty much lost sight of Spain. Spain come back and short tacked them a little bit, and GBR still haven't seen him. And then away they went. They had this collision where they did quite well at the end because they spotted them right at the very last moment. I'm not sure if you've seen the footage, but their focus was purely on the Canadian boat, which was the next boat across. And then they started yelling out, just tack, tack, tack. So Giles threw it into a crash tack, and Florian threw it up into the wind, and like they hit. There was a little bit of damage to the Great Britain boat, but that's been repaired overnight, so they're good to go. But the worst part about that is that any collisions in Sail GP, whether it's practice race or not, the boat in the wrong gets yearly point score deductions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to hurt. GBR under the pump as it was to try and get into this final come San Fran. They need every point they can get. They're languishing down the bottom a fair bit. And, that's, oops, I'll get rid of my hand.
I was going to say, I hope that's your hand, not something else.
So they're going to cop some penalties, which I haven't been, I'm not up to date on what that is at the moment. But, normally it's about 4 or 6 points taken off their season tally. And, so it's going to...
Jody, a couple more questions. I know you're in a bit of a dash to go get ready, but a couple more questions if you've got a minute. It's breeze on this weekend. Obviously, it's dead flat ass calm there right now, but what's the forecast?
Forecast is for it to come back out of the east northeast. Yesterday it was coming out of the south-southeast area. We're going to have a 180-degree swing, and it's going to come straight down the harbour this afternoon. They've got the light air boards on today, so they're not expecting much more than sort of maybe 12 knots. But tomorrow looks really fruity. It looks like we might get this might build up overnight. We're looking at 18s, 19s, possibly 25 gusts. So that'll be a pretty exciting. That's knots too. That's not kilometres an hour. That's knots. So
it'll be a bit sporty tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow could be a bit sporty, which would be good because they had a good hit out yesterday on a pretty tricky racetrack foiling, and today they'll definitely be foiling. Well,
we're going to have a Foley poll here in a bit, but Russell is predicting that the winner will be the Aussies. That after Tommy Slingsby and Co. won last month in Sydney, we all know Tom likes the breeze, and if it is breeze on, that's who Russell's pick is. Who is yours?
Mate, after yesterday, my money could be on the French.
Really?
Yeah, they looked impressive. They had a 1-4-1 yesterday, and when they got it together, they looked fast in the water. So the Aussies had a shocker start in the last race, or dead last at the jibe mark, and but they got back to. I think they just got pipped for 5th spot at the end. So they've got wheels. They're definitely fast, but the French looked. And he loves the breeze.
Yeah, true.
Delapierre, he loves it. So he, remember last year in Sydney, he won the event quite comfortably. It was and it was a heavier event. So the French, I hate to tell you, mate, the USA look like they're struggling. They've got some issues. They just keep mucking around that's mucking with an M, around with their crew a lot. So they're not settled. And it shows out in the water.
We're gonna talk a little bit about that as well. I know Mike put himself. He's the CEO of the team. Mike Buckley put himself on as tactician, even though the team voted unanimously against it. Did that come up at the press conference? Any other hot tips that came out of the press conference?
Nah, there was a lot of heat on Nathan about going to Sweden, and just a lot of chat about that. Obviously, a fair bit of chat. There you go, a bit of music getting cranked up in the background.
Yeah, do an audio check. I mean, you said Sweden, but you meant Switzerland, obviously.
Swiss, sorry.
Yeah.
The Swiss. Missed him sailing with Artemis. There's a lot of chat about him going over and the potential what they're going to possibly do for the rest of the season. Remember, they've never won an event ever. The Swiss, they're one of only 4 teams that have never won. And they've got the most last places with 7 with Spain. So they've got a bit to turn around that team. And, there's a bit of hint about new owners and stuff coming in. And, so if they don't perform, the people in the positions don't perform, they'll get replaced. So this could be Nathan's opportunity to, put his stake in the ground and say that he's still good enough to be racing one of these, which everyone believes he is. He's one of the best foiling skippers in the world. So I'm not just saying that from any bias. That's just fact. So.
Okay, sir. Well, I'll let you go. We're 30 minutes in, which is 15 more than we thought, but I appreciate the time. And if you, if Russell will let you do this.
Honest to God, that's, I reckon, 500 meters away.
That's Russell's favorite band. You know that. That's the guy. I don't know if that's who's rehearsing right now, but the band that you mentioned that's the headliner tonight is the guy. Yeah, he's the guy that wrote the song, the America's Cup defense song for the Kiwis.
Loyal or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Loyal
exactly.
Yeah, they're all banging on about how they're going to go out the front, shake their tail feathers when that comes on. So,
okay, well, thanks for this. I hope Russell will let you give us a tour of future venues as well. I hope it's a great success.
Yes.
Jody, don't hesitate. Anything we can do to help promote this or to help, with any minor technical, coordination, we just think this is fantastic. Bravo Zulu to you and to Russell and Chris Steele. It's fantastic news.
Absolutely.
Yeah, get behind us, everyone, and hopefully we can provide something that everyone's been screaming out for a couple of years. So let's rock and roll, eh?
Indeed. And as Don Lunabos is saying, have fun. Thanks.
Yeah, cheers, everyone.
Thanks, Jody. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good show. I'm going to go. Bye.
Jody Shields, who's our now longtime foesy and good friend down in Christchurch. We've switched him off, or he switched himself off there. You could hear the Skype dropping. He's in Christchurch, obviously, at the Sail GP venue. Racing starts in about 6 hours. Yeah, 5.5 hours here, 1900 our time on the West Coast, 2200 on the East Coast here in the States, 0200 UTC in Europe. So it's going to be a night there. Let's, Julia, stick with Sail GP for a minute here, shall we?
Yeah.
Because the Russell Report, which is also a relatively new feature, not brand new for this event, but Russell is interviewed and then weighs in, and it's a neat thing that he does. And just summarizing, this ITM is the sponsor. The ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix Christchurch kicks off on their Saturday, the 23rd, with the F-50 fleet returning to the epic location, which you've just seen, in Christchurch, Whakaarupo, Littleton Harbor. Ahead of the event, Sail GP CEO Russell Coutts gives his behind-the-scenes insight of the fleet in training. And he says we're back in Christchurch for the second time. Remember, they were there last year. They were supposed to be in Auckland this year, but then that didn't work out so well in Auckland with the locals. So Russell said, well, okay, we'll go back to Christchurch, who were happy to have it. But I think Russell's, we're going to tell you some more about that, is finding some difficulties there as well. But he's saying they're expecting 11,000 people on site each day.
That's incredible.
Maybe it's not quite 11,000 paid, but it's a big chunk of people. When it comes to the wind conditions, we're looking at around 13 to 20 kilometers per hour, so 7 to 10 or 11 knots on Saturday, and a stronger forecast up range of 27 to as much as 35 kph, kilometers per hour on Sunday, so that's in the high teens in terms of knots, which will make for an exciting final day of racing, Russell said. And of course, the big news, as we told you on Tuesday, is that Nathan Outeridge, the journeyman that he is, and the superb Aussie sailor now living in New Zealand, and married to a Kiwi, swapping in to drive the Swiss F-50 for the rest of the season, replacing Sebastian Schneider, the Swiss skipper who has decided to concentrate fully on his Olympic 49er program for Switzerland. Ultimately, Russell feels that this will make the team a lot more competitive. Nathan is still lacking racing time. We saw that in Abu Dhabi and even in Sydney with the final start line error. But that's just a sign of being out of practice. With every race, Russell expects Nathan will get better and better. Jeff Kitson saying, I love hearing knots. John Schaefer, who even offered to buy an ad. That was a nice gesture, John. I saw that on Facebook this morning. John, Captain Jack Schaefer in Annapolis saying, can't wait to hear Jody. I bet it gets really good the later in the day. This will be fuel.
Yes.
What do you think of that, Julia?
I was thinking about it. I wouldn't necessarily watch the entirety of this Sailor GP, but I can't wait to watch all of it to see what Jody's going to say all the way through.
Exactly. Now that we've got Jody doing. So that's the big news is of course, Nate, who grew up in Wanji, there just around the corner from where Jody lives up there north of Sydney. Yeah, they're all from that. The Outeridge boys are right there from the same Wanji area that in the lake there where Jody lives. So this was Russell's comment about the American team and you heard Jody wasn't too impressed on their practice racing yesterday. Russell said, when it comes to the USA, I thought it was interesting that CEO Mike Buckley put himself into the strategist position on the second day of Sydney last month, despite the whole team voting against it. Not that you make decisions based on votes of the team, but Russell says the problem is that the U.S. team hasn't had time to train Anna Weiss in flight control, so she can only move into the grinder position, and she's not as strong as their specialist grinders. No surprise. When it gets windy or gusty, that wing sheet has to move fast and frequently, so the power of the grinders has a lot of influence on the stability of the boat, both in terms of heel and ride height.
Mm.
As far as the American team, that's their branding, of course, with the Statue of Liberty on the wing sail. Having said that, Russell says the USA has generally impressed. With their lack of time in the boat, no one expected them to be anywhere near the top of the fleet at this stage, yet they've been contending and starting well. That shows Taylor Canfield, of course, on the helm. That shows they have what it takes to be a contender in season 5, next season.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn Riley's on watching, and she's saying, hello, Tom and Julia from Helsinki. She's there at the Classic Yacht Symposium. I think Tier de Jong as well. And the 11th edition, we're going to be watching that, Dawn, and watching it in replay as well. Anna is going to be just fine, Dawn says. A lot of interest in what Dawn is doing there. I think Hamish Ross is there too, isn't he, Dawn? I think Hamish was also going to be speaking there at the Classic Yacht Symposium. So let's keep on here. The big question is, will Australia beat New Zealand at home? Russell thinks so. He thinks that Tommy Slingsby and co. have the up range, have the windier high performance team when it comes to breeze on. And Australia comes to New Zealand fresh, of course, from securing its first season 4 win last month in Sydney. Will the momentum of that euphoric win carry the Aussies on to consecutive victories? Proud Papa Rob Fry is saying that they put Leonard Takahashi, Leo, back on FC last minute morning of the practice race. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes.
What's FC?
Rob, give us the full explanation of what he's doing and where and what he did in the previous event so that we know what's going on with Leonard Takahashi. Yeah, flight control. Julia, that's...
Oh, yes.
That's,
yeah. Okay.
Serious job on the boat, as you know. So that's probably the second biggest question of the event. And, of course, Tom is... if he's not the best sailor in the world, he's certainly among the very best in the world. And I think that bodes well for New York Yacht Club's America's Cup Challenge because, as you all know, he is the driver, skipper, helm for American Magic, as well as the Australian Sail GP team. And Russell says in the final sentence of his interview, the Russell Report, he's saying, I'm picking Australia to win the final here in Littleton, in Christchurch. So with that, I ask you if you'd like to take a little bit of a Foley Poll here, Julia. Will it be Tom, or will it be Pete Burling, or will it be somebody else? You heard Delapierre, you thought Jody thought might be... France might be in the hunt. Yes, France. So for the win, the Foley Poll, will it be Slingsby... A, Slingsby, B, Burling, or C, other? So it's easy. We're not giving you too many options there, and we'll see what you think. Peter Salwin is there. Hi, Peter. Nice to have you. Got a lot of Kiwis on here, no surprise. Giles will come good, Ted Ryman thinks. Ahem. Ahem. So it's nice to see that Leo's back on the yacht on flight control. Denmark has been on fire, Stingray says. Peter Salwin says B. He's cheering for Burling. Ed Worley, A for Slingsby. Chris Exley for Burling, also a Kiwi. Alan Long, A. Steve Atkins, A. Those are Americans. Julia, who's your choice?
The other.
You think other. You think who? The French.
Yeah, maybe.
Jeff Kitson thinks A. Maura Stevenson's New Zealand 1. Denmark 2 and Canada 3. Oh, Canada. She's biased for her home team, she being from Nova Scotia. Any others of you? It looks pretty well split between A and maybe B. I guess there's more A's there than there are B's.
Yeah, it'll be fun, interesting to watch.
It should be. Any others wish to go? It looks Denmark. Phil Laffin is saying Denmark, so that's an other.
Yeah.
Randy Cunningham, C. Martin Wigforce. Hi, Martin. And Fritz Mueller is going to go with France based on Jody's thoughts, Julia. Okay, well, that's interesting. A lot of A's. A lot of people think that it'll be Pete, that it'll be Tom, not Pete, but we shall see. Tom Slingsby, no question. The Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club, Claire Harrington, is saying, she's not biased, is she?
Well, she better be.
Exactly. We're going to get Claire on the show just as soon as we can. Stingray is cheering for TNZ, the home team, and a great new name, the Black Foils. Yes, they do have the new nickname. And we will do this a little more later in the show. We've got some more about this event by way of our preview for the New Zealand Grand Prix Sail GP in Christchurch. And it's today it's down under. It's Saturday. It's today Saturday and tomorrow Sunday. Again, tonight at 1900 Pacific, 2200 Eastern, 0200 if you're in Europe, UTC, so that's London time, 0300 if you're on the continent. Julia, what are we celebrating today?
Water.
There's a clue. We are celebrating water. And indeed, it is World Water Day.
Oh, is it?
Yes, well, good guess. Well done. I'd never heard of World Water Day. I saw it in one of our websites, but also Thierry de Jong, who we said is with Dawn Riley over in Helsinki. He turned me on to this, and he said, yeah, Water Day, and are you going to mention that? And I said, good idea, we'll do it. Water is the building block of life here in the United States. It's easy to take water for granted, especially if you're from my home state of Michigan, where we're surrounded by water and lots of inland lakes. Here in the United States, it's easy to take water for granted. It comes out of the faucet anytime you want it. Well, most of the time. Hopefully it's clean, not like Flint, Michigan was a few years back. Yet all over the globe, there are people who don't have access to clean, safe drinking water. Hence, March 22nd is World Water Day, a day dedicated to drawing attention to the water-related issues that humans face in almost every country. Well, maybe not almost every country. I think the UN gets carried away with some of this. Created by the United Nations back in the 90s, the goal of World Water Day is to bring aid to people who truly need it across borders. And as Alan Long says, we all need water, especially seawater, so we can go yacht racing in the ocean or freshwater if we're in the Great Lakes area.
And there's so much going on that's easy to produce water and to get it, that it's just ridiculous that it's not available.
Indeed. Julia, I just was noticing that your shawl, you don't have a scarf on today. It's cold here in San Francisco.
Yes.
And you said when you came down that you're wearing a nice, beautiful scarf that is by way of our Sailing Illustrated color, our palette.
Our palette.
Not only does it match your butterflies, it matches your flowers there, those beautiful, what do you call those, orchids, I guess? Yeah. I didn't know they came in blue.
Cymbidiums. They don't.
And you even match the fuzzy fuzzies pictures behind you.
Oh my gosh.
Huh? And that great painting.
Yes.
Another of our Fozy.
Yes.
Great stuff. Speaking of great stuff, we appreciate all of you who support us via Patreon. And that keeps us on the air. It helps keep our studio supplied with, we have real flowers here, Julia. Those are your birthday flowers at the end of your birthday week. I stuck them back in here on the set. Just to
They are gorgeous.
And then we got to put them up in the Commodore Suite here at the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Yes, we do.
Up in your apartment after the show. But we do appreciate all of you who support us via Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, so we can keep our studio equipment up to date. I'm noticing today we're dropping 0 or next to 0 frames, and all the rendering and all the technical stuff looks really good today. So thanks for your support that allows us to have the right equipment to do this at all, let alone, hopefully, knock on wood, somewhat well.
Yes.
The Coach's Corner is next. John Emmett, who submitted this. I had this when I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning because he's, I think, by now on a plane or is nearly on a plane to Shanghai to go yacht racing, and then he's going to dip down to Hong Kong and see his wife. But in the meantime, he submitted this.
Hi, Tom, Julia,
report.
And all the Fozy. Well, I'm back at Imberhorn Farm, East Grinstead, in what I think we can literally call a flying visit as I head off to Shanghai. I'm still feeling that I may have been a little bit misled because it's about 20 degrees here. In fact, I probably don't need this top, but there we go. And Shanghai, it's looking under 10 and rainy, but you know, that may well change. But it's good to be home, even for a little bit, see how things are going. And a few people were surprised to see me. I try and come maybe once or twice a month at least, just to try and look at those maintenance projects. But I really enjoy being on the Sailing Illustrated show live, and I didn't manage to answer more questions. So one of the questions I had, which I thought was quite interesting, was about the intensity of training. So I was going to try and answer that. Now, good training, it's at least 3 things. So we think about a fire triangle. So how do you put out a fire? You remove the oxygen, you remove the fuel, or you remove the heat or the spark, as it were. So any one of those things, the fire goes out. So it's the same with good training. You need to have the intensity of training, you need to have the nutrition to build upon, and you need to have that rest. And rest can look like a lot of things. I think actually the phrase rest day is a misnomer. Quite often an active recovery day is actually much more restful than literally watching Netflix or whatever and moving as little as possible. I was having quite a lot of talks with potential athletes a few months ago, and they said, "Oh, got a busy day, you know, got to go to gym and go sailing." And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty much every day. You know, in a rest day you might be doing different things, and on a rest day, you know, your gym program is different, and you might be doing boat work rather than boat speed, but that's just more or less every day. And one of the things I'll talk about a little bit more when I come back to the farm is this idea of not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And I'll probably try and deep dive into that, because, you know, it's not actually what we say, it's what we do. And, you know, you need to work hard to get the effort. So, you know, the long answer to the question was about the intensity of training. And yes, you need to push yourself hard, whether that's on the water, in the gym, even in stretching, which, you know, arguably can be painful. You know, nothing really worth having in this life comes particularly easy, otherwise everybody would have it. And that there is an ability to sort of push yourself that champions have. Mickey Beckett talked about it at the Worlds, about, you know, the discomfort of hiking, and actually Ben Elvin echoed that at the last qualifier. But just being able to push yourself. Now, having said that, something is always better than nothing, and by that I mean if you do half an hour circuit training once a week, that is so much better than doing absolutely nothing. So much better. And it's very easy to get that slow progression, or that slow deterioration where you get a bit overweight, you don't train as much, you get a bit more overweight, you don't train as much, you get a bit more overweight, you stop training, and unfortunately 10 years later people wake up and they're obese, and they wondered how that happened. I mean, I look around the farm buildings and I You know, I think how can weeds and stuff grow to 6 foot tall? That didn't just happen, you know, overnight. That's 10 years worth of not being looked after. But the idea of training is to have high intensity, push yourself, and your body has to adapt, whether that's, you know, a really high heart rate, whether it's a huge amount of endurance, whether it's lifting a very heavy load, whatever is pickable for your particular part of sport. I used to think about the 4 S's, which is a very old fashioned word, whether you have strength, stamina, and you have suppleness. And crikey, that's really annoying. I think I nearly forgot the last one, speed. But those are the elements, and you need to think that, you know, for a 49er crew, you need to be very quick, fast, speed, you need to be very agile. Maybe for somebody on a keelboat, actually having that strength to grind is the most important thing. Ilka sailing and those single-handed hiking boats, you know, it's about muscular stamina. And we have different words now. We talk about aerobic fitness and these sort of things, but actually the fundamentals are always the same. But the harder you work, the better results you'll get. So you push your body to adapt. If you have a 40 horsepower engine and ask it to do 60 horsepower, basically the engine breaks. If you have that analogy with a human and you push yourself literally in the gym to failure, somebody has to help you pick up the weight for the final time, your body will adapt as long as you give it the time, as in the rest to recover, and the building blocks. And that's one of the things, unfortunately, when people get older, they tend to eat less meals or just snack a little bit throughout the day, whereas you do need to have that quality protein source to take in. And those sort of meat and vegetables, that's much more likely what you're going to have on a traditional meal, rather than little snacks of carbohydrates, this, that and the other. And, you know, without going too much deep dive, because that's a topic for another Sailing Illustrated Coach's Corner, I think it's much better to get your food from real food sources rather than supplements, because they're always discovering, actually, you know, the fibre in the fruit is important. Actually, there's substances within the fruit that help you absorb the other nutrients which are in there, and actually what we naturally like to eat together, food pairings go very well, like beans on toast, cereal and dairy. These things that we naturally do actually give you a complete amino acid building block. So I'm packing now for Shanghai. In fact, I was trying to pack just before the last show. Thankfully, I don't think I've forgotten anything. Just, you know, don't forget your toothbrush. Well, passport, that's probably the most important thing. But the packing I will take with me, some energy gels. I use the company Morton because I know that there's no nasties in there, and actually they have a neutral taste, so I don't get bored. I can have lots and lots of them. And then I will also take a hydrolyzed whey protein, so if I'm struggling to get the high quality protein when I'm eating, I have something with me. So yeah, I'm very grateful to be able to take 3 bags, as it were, and I think I better get ready for the airport. But love being on the show live. Probably should try and do it a little bit more, and do keep the questions coming. Not going to be watching live shows until April now, but I will do my very best to respond. So take care, and so fast, have fun.
He's singing from your hymnal, the whole
Yes.
thing about natural foods.
Yes. Yes, yes.
John Emmett still insists, Steve Gruber says, on going outside without a helmet, but today he looks pretty safe, all cleaned up to see. Well, he's not going to see Lily for a while. That's what I asked him, if he was going to see Lily in Shanghai. No, she's in Hong Kong, so he's going to race in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Then eventually make his way down to Hong Kong. So Fritz Mueller is saying down in Miami, always great, John, thank you. They say the new big diet craze in the States is the carnivorous style. That's an old thing. In fact, I think our Wi-Fi password here, Julie, is
carnivore.
Is carnivore here at the Beach Street Yacht Club when you were on a carnivore. Are you still on carnivore?
I'd like to be.
More so than you are?
Yes. I'm on a modified carnivore, but I'm not in a position to be cooking.
Well, you've got cooked, but they'll tell them what you want, and they'll cook for you.
Oh, yes.
Brad Reed has checked in, one of my heroes in the sport. We've already mentioned Dawn. I was thinking about, and don't take this wrong, Brad, I was thinking about you and Dawn in the shower this morning. I know Well, I was, because I was thinking about.
You were in the shower.
I was in the shower thinking about them, and the reason is that, you know, if I haven't had a good idea, I have all my. I don't know about you, Julia. My best ideas are in the shower. If I haven't had a good one, when I get out of the shower, I get back in.
Good idea. Yeah.
But I was just thinking too bad we didn't get Dawn and Brad. I mean, they're doing the stuff for Sail Newport and for Oak Cliff, respectively. But why? It's just a shame one of them is not running U.S. Sailing. A lot of our problems would be solved. And of course, they're now, you know, they're getting on. They're getting up to 60-ish.
Yeah.
And we need the younger version of the two of them. We talk about Billy Lynn, who's running the Hairsoft Museum. He's president, CEO, exactly whatever his title is at the Hairsoft Museum. And another guy who's a superb leader in our sport. And Peter Taylor agreeing, Dawn and Brad are great. So you need to get I was thinking in the shower about, well, they're 60-ish. Who is the next 30 or 40-year-old to come along behind them? How do we find them to get involved in helping to lead the sport in this country? So that was the context of all that. Now, that you talk about a tangential treatment here after seeing those Brad signing on here. I hope he's almost back after he's been on a sabbatical down in the Caribbean sailing with his family for the last, 5-6 months. Mm-hmm. Any other comments? But cool stuff. And thank you, John. I do have, Julie, a couple other slides here. I thought John looked really serious. That's a screen grab from Cole Brower, maybe Alan Long. There's an idea. I thought he looked really serious in that. That's a screen grab from the first few seconds of his video. Mm-hmm. And then I realized what the real problem.
He's squinting.
He's squinting, but the real problem is there's no flag on top of the roof at the farm.
Oh, so you put it on.
So I put it on, and look at how that cheers the whole scene up.
Oh yes.
And I went to try to get a picture of the flag and flagpole in Buckingham Palace and put it up there, because I think that's a palatial looking building there at the farm.
I was thinking that he really does pay attention to those buildings and it's what from the 14th century.
Something like that. Back a long time ago. And once his mother passes, he's going to be there, literally down on the farm, I think.
Yep.
Looking after it as the land baron, as they used to say. Okay, John Emmett, a terrific report again, keeping us all fit, whether it's through you're all talking about the diets now, Atkins diet, not to be confused with our Fozy, Steve Atkins. And who was the guy Atkins?
Yeah.
Who did the Atkins diet, though, where he was the big runner, isn't he the guy that died running? Had a heart attack while he was running? And then the keto diet, the carnivore diet, I think it sounds like, and John just echoed it, you got to eat real food.
Yeah.
You got to eat real food, right?
Right.
John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. Our regular reportage from him, much appreciated in this show number 696, the preview of Sail GP, which we'll get back to in a minute. But before we do, the Etchells Worlds have just wrapped up down there in the Swan River. And I don't know if they sailed outside. One of the Aussies will know, perhaps, if they did also sail outside. They for sure raced in the river. Royal Freshwater Bay Yacht Club was the main host, but 3 yacht clubs banded together. Yacht Club's the heart and soul of our sport. For what, by all accounts, the videos by Sue Ellen Hurling's reports and videos and written, was just a fabulous event. Speaking of Sue Ellen, here she is.
Hair is like a wind indicator. Hey, did we even work out whose glasses these are? Hey everyone, welcome to the final day of the 2024 Etchells World Championships here in Fremantle. I'm super excited because, well, we actually made it. We came out alive and we've had such an amazing time. Before we get stuck into today, I just want to say a massive thank you to every single person who has made this event possible. Like we said in our first day video, it does actually take a village. So to everybody who has contributed, thank you so much. Right, the other thing is, I actually believe in the commentator's curse. So I'm not going to tell you that Magpie almost has this wrapped up. I'm not going to tell you that no dramas, if they get a second or a first, could knock them off their perch. And I'm not going to tell you who could actually round out the podium, because 5 boats could actually end up there after today's one all-important race. The forecast is, well, it's actually pretty windy out there at the moment, but it is meant to die down. We're going to get around 11 to 15 knots from the east. So again, it's going to be a really tricky day. But hey, that's what yacht racing is all about. This week we have seen some beautiful white boats. Beautiful, crisp, white sails. And occasionally a blue or a red spinnaker. They really need to get original with their colours, don't they? I mean, seriously, did you see the white boat with the white sails? Oh my God, they looked good. We have done every tack and every jibe, and it has been an absolute pleasure. But it's not over yet. So keep watching, stay tuned, because in just a few hours' time, the 2024 Etchells World Champions will be announced.
She is terrific.
Yeah.
I met her once briefly, and everybody down under loves her. She's her company, Live Sail Die, and then she's partnered with Down Under Sail, who were doing a lot of the photos. I like her great humor. Ted Ryman is saying, David James from across the bay, the Etchells Worlds were at SDYC, San Diego Yacht Club in 2000, was perhaps the best regatta in which I have ever participated. David James lived in Hong Kong for a while, I know, and I think sailed Etchells there as well. It's got a big concentration of what we used to call E22s there in Hong Kong, as well as Australia. The World's back in Australia next year. I see Andrew Pindar has just joined us. He said, did someone forget to change the clocks? He joined us right about an hour late, so he must have forgotten that we are starting this show at 1300 Pacific, whether we're on daylight or on wintertime, and we're now on summertime, Andrew, as you know. So we're starting at what, for those of you in Europe, is 13 plus 7, 2000 UTC. And of course, in another couple of weeks, that all changes. Well, I'm not going to go into it, Julia.
No, I just keep it on one page so I can see it all.
2000 UTC. That's where we'll be for the next 6 or so months. You heard that excellent preview of today, which was the Friday. It's now Saturday, of course, in Australia. But today, Friday, was the last day of racing. They had a fabulous regatta. And indeed, as we told you on Tuesday, and as you heard Sue Ellen say, it looked like Magpie was the odds-on favorite. They won the pre-worlds too. The something Steel, the Mr. Steel Cup. Sorry, I've forgotten the gentleman's name after whom that and he's still around. I believe the pre-regatta is named. And James Mayo, this guy with his crew, James Mayo and Richard Allenson with a crew. They previously won the Etchells Worlds, but this is the first time in 20 years that Graham Taylor, the driver there on the left, skipper, helmsman, Graham Taylor, all Aussies, he and the rest can claim the honor. Sailing Magpie, the trio were ecstatic when they crossed the finish line of the final race, and here's an interview with Graham.
I had 2 poached eggs and some bacon, 3 double espressos to fire myself up.
So do you reckon that's the kind of breakfast that makes world champions?
Oh, must be. Hey, how good's that? You know, we wanted to start to the right of him so we could control him. And thank God the wind went right. We did a little step up and got into a point to control him. And then, you know, the first run was pretty close, but, you know, our job was just to make sure he didn't get to third. And we didn't really have to do much because he sort of ended up on the wrong side of the track. So, you know, I don't know where we finished, but we probably got back inside 12 anyway, so, which is all that we had to do. He's obviously a very good sailor, and we've really enjoyed sailing against him this week. He's done a fabulous job. I've been sailing with James Mayo and Richie Allenson, and really the whole project has just been to leave no stone unturned. And you know, both the boys have just put their absolute all into it. And you know, from their boat is immaculate. Our sails are immaculate. You know, everything. You know, we have everything you can possibly ask for, we have. So we're very lucky and fortunate to be able to do it that way. And you know, I thank James for providing that. And you know, Richie he's just like, he is the ultimate workhorse. He just works his absolute butt off to get the job done. And you know, during these events, you learn a lot about each other and how we're all different. And you know, that's been an interesting journey as well. But you know, I love both the guys, and to win the World Championship here in Australia, you know, there's nothing, you know, nothing better that, you know, you could hope for. So, you know, I'm absolutely thrilled, especially after losing the Hobart race on Comanche by 30 seconds. That was pretty tough. I think the first thing we said when we went across the line down there is let's not lose the Etchell Worlds and make it a double whammy. We'll savour it and party long into the night and, you know, enjoy it. You know, it's not every day. You know, it's the first you know, World Championship I've won. I've had 3 seconds, a third, and every other place between 10 and 20. I've been sailing these boats for 20 years, so, you know, 25 years. So, you know, it's not an easy event to win, and to actually finally win one, I'm over the moon. Good.
You love enthusiastic winners.
Absolutely.
The guys that I don't know the gentleman, but Graham Taylor, what a fabulous winner. He said it was extra special to win in Australia, in his home country. And you heard him say, particularly about being on Comanche, Andrew Comanche. He says, quote, this is a quote, during these events, you'll learn a lot about each other and how we are all different, members of the crew. And that's been an interesting journey as well. But I love both the guys. And to win the World Championship here in Oz, there's nothing better. I'm absolutely thrilled. Graham Taylor was on board Andrew Comanche when they had the line honors win ripped away from them.
Yes.
In the final moments of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, as you all know, we covered that extensively.
Right.
After Law Connect rolled them at the finish. So this win brings something extra special for him. Some of you will know, including Steve Adkins, that the runners-up were Andy Beadsworth, Brian Ledbetter, and Brian Lamb, 3 terrific sailors from this country. I don't know Mr. Lamb, but I know Andy, of course, and Brian well. And bravo Zulu to them as well. And as you heard Sue Ellen say, in third was No Dramas, another Aussie boat, Graham Veals. I guess it is Veals, I suppose. Billy Russell and Andrew Lawson from Australia. They were third, and we have a nice interview, a Sue Ellen interview with them as well, or him.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I mean, we did the Cows Worlds a couple of years back and came 5th in 1st Corinthians. So we came here and with an objective to try and improve upon that score. To go into the last race today with a chance of winning was really good. But that did create a bit of a tension with the Magpie crew, who were keen to sail us down the fleet. We kind of escaped that sort of, but to finish 3rd overall in 1st Corinthians, we would have taken that at the start of the week. It's a really good result. So we're super chugged. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, we're a pretty strong crew. We get on really well together. We had one issue yesterday with, we had a swap crew. Andy had a health issue, bit of a scare, so we couldn't sail yesterday. So we had a substitute crew, 15 kilos light. So that wasn't a good for us yesterday, which kind of put us slightly on the back foot for today. But you know, you can always look back at these events in hindsight and think, should have done different things. I think reality is we would have taken 3rd place at the start of the week. It's a good outcome. Fantastic to be here in Fremantle again. Great conditions, lovely weather, good wind, really close race in the Etchells class, so we've got no complaints at all. Well, for me, I mean, we actually haven't been sailing the boat that long. I did the Cows was my first event a couple of years ago, so we're still learning the boat. For me, it's super close racing, and you've got some of the best sailors in the world. So for us to race against them as amateur sailors and to take on the double gold medalists, the multiple world champions, that's fantastic. And yeah, we've held our own. We went into the last race with a chance of winning. The guys were racing against their professional sailors. So to take that sort of chip off them, to take the fight to them is really exciting. And I think for anyone who's thinking about the Etchells and wants that challenge to race against the best sailors in the world, it's a perfect opportunity. So we've had a great time, no complaints.
We talked about that on Tuesday, the whole idea of having a trophy for the top Corinthian crew.
Right.
And that, I think, is very popular and a very good feature of events of all types.
Yes, it is. And I think it's good for the Corinthians, too.
Well, exactly. But it's good for the sport. Here are the results overall. Just the top 16 or 15, I guess, of 40. I believe there were 40 boats total. And we've talked about the first three. You see Laurie Smith slipped to fourth. He was in the hunt. I think he was in second yesterday. He was in the hunt, and he dropped to fourth. Scott Kaufman from the U.S. on Rogue with Hugo Rocha and Gonzalo Rivera and Carlos Robles. They were sailing four up. They dropped down to eighth, and so on and so forth. But JB, John Bertrand Sailing Triad 2020 with George Richardson and Lewis Brake were 12th. Just for the record, in that fabulous fleet, and what by all accounts was a terrific event. They're hosted by those three clubs, and Bravo Zulu to them, as you heard Sue Ellen say at the top of this segment. The next event will be in Brighton. This is must warm the cockles of Alistair Murray's heart there in Victoria and Brighton in 2025, next January. Julie, we should go down for that event. Go down.
Good on.
Go down.
Good
Good on you.
Good day.
That's the Etchells 22, the Etchells Report. And today is the 22nd of March, and we'll ask you what happened on this day in history. Not 1882, Julia. I got the wrong date on this. Whoever my graphics department was today got this date wrong. It's really in 2023, a year ago. Not 1882. That was the date I was using on Tuesday's show. What happened on this date in 2023? And there's your first clue.
Well, there's Gates, but what did he do in 2023?
And who was Gates?
Bill Gates.
And what did he do?
Microsoft.
Microsoft founder. He's 2 years younger than I, and he has a few more dollars than I. One of the obviously richest, wealthiest guys in the world, born in 1955. Here's your second clue of what he said or did a year ago. And that is an arcane, as arcane a clue as we've ever had on this show. Those are meeting minutes from last night's Stag Cruise Committee meeting, which I have the great pleasure of chairing for St. Francis Yacht Club. And these minutes were generated by AI.
Were they?
And I came home last night. A bunch of us had dinner after the committee meeting, which ran for a couple hours.
Yeah.
I got home here about 9:30 and started working on this show. And I got an email from my secretary, the secretary of the committee, who you know well, Frank Bergamaschi, who's a Fozy and a good friend of this show.
Yeah.
And Frank had he told us all before the meeting, is that he asked us, is it okay if I record the meeting? And we all said, what, not really. We use some coarse language, and there's stuff going on that we wouldn't necessarily want outside the meeting room because we got some cool stuff going on for this year's Stag Cruise. But nonetheless, he said, well, I'm going to record it because I'm using some brand new AI software to generate the minutes, or tried, and see if it works, he being the techie that he is.
Yeah.
These were in my inbox last night, a couple hours after the meeting, and he said he went home, punched the recording into the software, and this came back almost immediately, and I commend this to you.
Wow.
And okay, it's not perfect, but look at the formatting, the whole thing is so good that with the change of 2 or 3 words, you could use these as an authoritative memo of meeting. AI minutes generated from the St. Francis Yacht Club meeting over there, the Stag Cruise meeting last night. And it was on this day in 2023 that Mr. Gates said, as many others have in the meantime, and maybe even before, he said that the development of artificial intelligence is the most important technological advance since the graphical user interface, the GUI, the GUI, the mouse, in 1980, and maybe even more revolutionary than that, Julia.
Yes.
You gave some advice to Matt Whitfield about his soon-to-be wife, who's going to law school, and you said...
Are you sure? Why is she going to law school? And are you sure she's going to go to law school? because most of the lawyer jobs are going to disappear
To AI.
to AI.
Well, and so is a lot of doctoring, diagnosis. I mean, differential diagnosis. They'll be able to do. In fact, there's some amazing stuff. I was reading about it this morning early. Andrew Pindar says, coincidentally, we used it for the first time for our Magenta Project board meeting yesterday.
Oh, good.
So Stingray is saying, well, I'm not kidding. I grew up literally across the fence from the Gates family while in student housing at UW, at the University of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's, I was really, I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy development. It's scary in many respects, but I was taken aback.
Yeah.
I mean, the speed, but not that so much as the accuracy. Now, I mean, again, this is a recording of 20 people around a big table
Right.
in the chart room.
For 2 hours.
For 2 hours, and to have it distilled down like that. Okay, there were a couple of mistakes, but it was probably me babbling that caused the mistakes, not the saw. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we had 4 people in the meeting by Zoom.
Ah.
With a big television screen at the end of the meeting and a
Yeah.
camera that's shooting us at the table. And it's a big table. It's probably 15, 16 people around the table.
Right.
And then 4 people on by Zoom. As you
It
can
is
tell,
amazing.
as you can tell, I'm blown away. Clark Chapin saying, as someone who has an interest in Robert's Rules of Order, those aren't minutes. Yeah, they're not. They're a memo of meeting, but as a summary of the meeting, it ain't bad. Well, you had to be there, as they say, Clark. You had to be there. That's what happened this day in history only a year ago. And I actually, this AI thing is so astonishing. I'm at the Stag Cruise. I've asked a new young member to moderate a panel. We have these talks that Andrew McIrvin and other people have been on at the Stag Cruise over the many years. Andy Rose and many other luminaries, and Stan Honey, Gary Jobson. I mean, people who are foes that have been on this show. But this panel discussion we're going to have up there is going to be on AI in September because it's of such great interest to people, young and old. And we'll get some financial person on there too, because the stock market may be being largely driven, not only by company profits, which seem to be good, at least in this country, but also by AI, interest in AI stocks. Okay, enough about all that. Julie Aaron saying AI is a really fabulous tool. It needs to be used wisely and judiciously. Yes, indeed. Stingray, who, of course, is an engineer and a coder, recently retired from Boeing, probably why their jets are struggling. Maybe, Stingray, you better go back to work.
Go back to work, yeah.
Fix up that 737. AI is a really fabulous tool. It needs that was there, Julie. Stingray was saying, I'm actually very optimistic about the potential of AI, primitive as it is so far, indeed. My wife, Ted Ryman says, has been using Jasper AI for over a year. She is an SEO, search engine optimizer, content writer. It's an amazing program. Can you imagine an AI-generated John Emmett? Fabulous tool, Clark Chapin is saying. That's what the robots want you to think. Let's go back to SailGP for a minute, and then maybe we'll wrap up a little earlier than we did the other day. I was at almost 2 hours and 30 minutes the other day. It was a long show, good show on Tuesday, and a lot of views. We came off the air with a lot of views and have had, I think, north of 2,000 views for that show on Tuesday. Interesting live appearance by John Emmett, and we had Maddie Whitfield squeezed in here with the flowers.
Right.
So we had 2 live guests, one in studio and John via Skype. Back in Christchurch, as we said at the top of the show, Russell says we're back in Christchurch for the second time, and it's set to be the biggest ticketed event in SailGP history. 11,000 people on site each day. So, and we know about the breeze on. You heard that from Jody, and Russell's saying the same thing. Although it looks like it's now maybe not going to be as breezy today as some of the predictions that we were seeing yesterday. Now, here is a little bit longer video than we normally play. It's about a 9-minute video. And it's the 3 big SailGP questions for this weekend, since we're doing a preview of the event. And I thought this was a particularly good video. You be the judge.
Hello everybody and welcome to our preview of Event 9 Season 4. This is the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix Christchurch. Alongside Stevie Morrison and Emily Nagel, I am Todd Harris. Well, let's get right into it. Stevie, I'll start with you. Peter Burling is back, and he is back in a big-time way, and the Kiwis are going to need him because the Aussies won the last event. They are on a roll.
Well, yeah, they're on a roll, but New Zealand have been pretty strong, haven't they? They won the 2 before that. They didn't get it done here last year. They got beaten by a Kiwi driver, but in the Canadian boat, Phil Robertson. So there's going to be a massive bit between Pete's teeth to get out there and bring home the win.
And you know the Aussies would love to spoil the homecoming for Peter Burling.
They definitely would, and I think there's a few teams out there all with that on their mind. You know, we've heard from Phil Robertson, same thing. He's also a Kiwi sailing for the Canadian team. I'm pretty sure he'd be quite happy to take the win here as well.
All right, other breaking news coming into event number 9. The Swiss make it official. Nathan Outteridge takes over for Sebastian Schneider after he steps down for the rest of the season. How big of a move is this, in your opinion, Emily?
Well, I think it's a really interesting opportunity for him because it's not just stepping into the position as helm. He's getting a bit more control in the team. All the spots he's kind of taken previously this year, he's kind of just been filling in. You don't really get to take much ownership over the role. You're just kind of filling in someone else's shoes. While this time he can kind of get in and just start to change things, make suggestions, you know, guide the team in the direction that he wants to see it go. So I think that's a really great opportunity to see him have again. And, you know, good things come when he's driving a boat. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Stevie, it's not like he's a newbie to this thing. I mean, remember, he steered Japan into one of the grand finals. He's such an experienced sailor, the Wind Whisperer, and now he's driving for the Swiss for the last 5 events of Season 4.
Oh, it's fantastic news for Nathan. I think the thing that's really important for us all to understand is that it's not a one-man show on any of these boats. It's a full team effort. It was quite noticeable. Obviously, when he was with Japan, he was sailing with Ian Jensen, Luke Parkinson. It was kind of his, it was his team. They had that communication. They had that length of sailing together. When he got in with Denmark, there was not a lot of wind. So it is a bit, even the Whisperer couldn't chef up much on that day. That is fact. But the fact is, it's a new team. You're not used to that dynamic, and it's hard. And I think he got in with New Zealand. Of course, he's involved with the New Zealand America's Cup team, and he sailed with a lot of those guys a lot of the time. So he sailed with Blair a lot. He sailed with Andy Maloney. He's quite integrated in the team. And now he's been in and around the Swiss team, but they've got a big learning curve comms-wise. It's interesting. One thing I heard is he's brought back his Olympic coach. Emmett Lazic is coming in, and I think could be good for the Swiss team. Real good data guy, really good at getting down, crunching the numbers on it. But I think the big thing for the Swiss is going to be communication.
Yeah, and Emmett was Nathan's coach back in SailGP Japan days, so someone who's familiar with the boats as well always helps. And as we've seen before with Nathan, like the comm side is one of his super strengths. He always has that calm demeanor, which translates so well into a team. So if he can get the whole of the Swiss team on that same page with him, I think they've got a lot of potential for the rest of the season.
Stevie, you talked about dynamic. How is the dynamic different with Nathan Outteridge out on the water with the other 9 teams now?
Well, it's the best, one of the best sailors. I mean, he's one of the few people that's kind of taken the fight.
I'm sorry, that was such a lame question. The first bit of this was interesting, and I listened to the first bit this morning. But how was the dynamic different with Nathan out on the water? I'm sorry. Bring in Jody. The sooner the better. You know what I mean, Julia?
Yeah.
And as Clark said, you can. This is a radio report. Who knows what these announcers are? They're probably who knows what they are. Bloody hell. Okay, I've had enough of that. I think let's check in with the British team. They had that praying yesterday. Let's get rid of that. But let's check in with the British team, and they've got an honest to God video that I thought was also interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, tricky day. Really quite windy early on, and offshore down these valleys that are behind me actually, and made for very, very difficult conditions. And I think it's fair to say all teams are struggling on the boat handling side of things, and it was really a day for no mistakes. And I suppose the elephant in the room is that we had a proper clanger. We had a port starboard incident with the Spanish. We crossed on starboard, tacked, and then just didn't pick them up. That they tapped back onto starboard, and we ended up having what was fortunately quite a light coming together with them. It could have been a lot worse. Certainly looking forward to the weekend, but we've just come ashore on this practice day a little bit down. Licking wounds from that issue, that port starboard. It's really frustrating. But yeah, tomorrow's a new day. I'm sure we'll have to, I'd imagine we'll have to deal with some penalty points. But yeah, we'll come out swinging and see what the weekend's got.
So there's the praying, as the Brits would call it, that you heard Jody talking about at the top of the show. And I haven't seen the penalty points, but no doubt they will be penalized for that praying, that collision. Could have been a lot. God, it could have been a lot. Now that I've seen the video carefully, and it could have been a lot worse. Okay. Russell, we told you also at the top of the show that RC has Sir Russell Coots. RC he's widely known
and loved.
Well, it's a nickname I think I gave him because I was, having gone to battle with DC, Dennis Conner, and Chris Dixon, CD, the Dicko as he's called. Now I didn't give him that nickname. And KR, we never called him PC because he's anything but politically correct. But RC, Russell Coots, Sir Russell says Christchurch is unlikely to host Sail GP again after this weekend in an interview he gave to their One News, the network in Australia, or in New Zealand rather. In a bombshell revelation, Sir Russell Coots says Christchurch is unlikely to host Sail GP again. I assume this was a shot across their bows to try to get them re-engaged or to give up a little more to support the event, but he's saying that the lack of flexibility as well as pressure from minority groups had made Littleton a non-viable option going forward. I don't like that expression. I inserted that, not the One News. It was only yesterday that the event was officially welcomed back to Christchurch for the second straight year. Earlier plans for it to be held in Auckland this year were canned due to issues with spectator facilities. Russell couldn't get on with the city council, the regional council there either, apparently. Sir Russell Littleton said that Littleton was a fantastic venue and people in the region engaged with the event, but that wasn't enough. Quote, there have been a few entities that really make life difficult for us. So, for example, the only dates we can get here next year is February, and they told us they can't run the event in February. Interestingly, they said if it was at the end of February, like the last day, it might be okay, but not before. And unfortunately, we won't be here next year and possibly not ever because we need those February dates to fit in with the international calendar. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on and said some more things, but he, again, in this last paragraph, he says, quote, like a lot of things in New Zealand these days, there's a few minority groups that have a huge say in what happens, and that's the way it works. Stingray knows what's going on. There's some issues with the dolphins in the harbor there. And no, Stingray, Russell is, he's at least vegetarian, if not vegan. Russell, since at least the 2013 America's Cup, unless something's changed, but he has been an avowed and quite disciplined vegetarian, if not also vegan. I think he started out vegetarian and ended up vegan. And he's thin. I mean, look at his face, and his family has some issues of heart disease. So he says that his doctors and his research has led him to believe that he should not eat even fish, only plants.
Let's introduce him to some new research.
Plant-based diet. James Frederick Bland, who do DEI issues have to do in the discussions of what do DEI issues have to do? Well, I think that explains it, James.
Mm-hmm.
Boomer, Bland. Yeah, Alan Long says, yeah, maybe they can run it the 30th of February.
Or the 29th next year.
It's 29th. We're back. It was a leap year this year, right?
I know.
No 29th next year?
That's correct.
Hello, Patrice Racklin. She's become a regular. Welcome to the show. So
Yep.
there is Russell's quotes. Thank you, Ed Worley, for sending that just before we went to air. I got that from Ed, was able to include it in the show. Regardless, it goes live here in just a few hours tonight at 1900 our time. So in about 4.5 hours from now, you can watch it live on YouTube, on whatever other network television in your area. Any number of outlets are carrying it live. Some in this country, it's on cable, delayed, I think, on CBS-SN, CBS Sports Network. Tonight, 1900 Pacific, 2200 Eastern, rather, and 0200 +1, meaning Saturday morning, UTC, live coverage. Bravo Zulu, I got a couple here, and I want to say Bravo Zulu first to the author of the letter that appeared in Scuttlebutt last night with respect to the ongoing madness at U.S. sailing. And this is Olympian Carol Cronin, who is a very bright gal, a terrific sailor. She's been in the snipe class for years. This is also a terrific sailor with world titles, North American and so on titles. The two of them have sailed together a lot. I don't believe they sailed in the Olympics, not 100% sure, but Kim Coron's there on the right. They're sailing a snipe, and that shot from a couple years ago. But I'm going to read the letter because it's so important to what's going on in this country. And Carol wrote, as a member of the U.S. sailing team from 01 to 07, and a member of the Olympic Sailing Committee. She was on the committee for a long time, for 9 years, offers up a plea to U.S. sailing. And she wrote, in one all too memorable race at the 2004 Olympic Classes Regatta, I got a very bad start and then compounded that mistake by sailing off to the unfavored side, blindly searching for a miracle comeback. On the next beat, my teammates convinced me to instead dig into the favored left. And left, I guess the favored. Yeah. Favored left, and we indeed made some incremental gains. After the finish, our coach, desperately trying to stay positive, announced, quote, great job, you finally stopped the bleeding, which is the headline, as you'll see, have seen. Now U.S. sailing needs to do the same, she says. Give up on this stupid lawsuit so the U.S. sailing program, Olympic sailing program, can start moving forward once more. I've been biting my tongue, figuring that no one wants to hear from a sailor who went to the Olympics 20 years ago. Alas, she knows that's not true. We want desperately to hear from her and other sailors like her.
Right.
But on the tiny chance that my plea might actually make some sort of difference, I've decided to speak up. A month ago, and it was run in Scuttlebutt, Dean Brenner was the former, for 8 years, chairman of that, of our Olympic Sailing Committee, also a terrific sailor. Dean Brenner provided much needed context about how we got here. I was hopeful that his words would help bring an end to this latest and grossest example of misgovernance. And I still share his optimism that this could be a turning point. I also agree with the suggestion to get quote, open-minded leaders from across our sport in a room to have a serious conversation about how to fix the root cause structural problem of our U.S. Olympic sailing program, unquote. And then Carol continues, she says, but when Dawn Riley and several others put together just such a meeting last fall, U.S. sailing leadership didn't even show. And you know, when we had Dawn on this show a month or so ago, she said exactly that. Right. And Dawn worked really hard to pull that together after, I think it was the Golden Spinnaker Ball, which is a big fundraiser that New York Yacht Club has been putting on for years for our Olympic program. U.S. sailing leadership didn't even show, and it was in Newport, if memory serves, and they continue to ignore that meeting, and they continued to ignore the advice of those with both the institutional and sailing knowledge to understand what it takes to build and maintain a successful Olympic program. At this point, I don't even care who's right, and like most protests, there were probably things that could have been done differently by both sides. The current leadership did not create the program's root problems, but a lawsuit will not solve them. It has already sucked way too much oxygen out of the Olympic program. Yes. distracting from what really matters, supporting our 2024 team and building a talent pipeline to 2028 and beyond. The road to success, she concludes, for one Olympics begins years before the previous one lights its opening flame. A nice metaphor there, which means that the many governance errors of the past two quadrenniums have already damaged our 2028 team. That's a big disappointment for a rare home games that was supposed to highlight the many strengths of American sailing, but we can't do anything about that now. We can stop looking for that miracle comeback and instead focus on making incremental gains toward a better Olympic program. Please, U.S. Sailing, stop the bleeding.
Nice, powerful letter.
Simple, clean, clear. We've been saying it on this show now for months. Others have said the same thing, with the exception of American John Bertrand, who wrote a letter, and he repurposed a proposal he's had for many, many years. And of course, he's looking for a job. He'd like to lead the program, and JB would probably be pretty darn good at it too. So he's making an appeal on his own behalf to U.S. Sailing that he would come in and run it, and that's why he tended to side, I think, with the U.S. Sailing Board on this issue. And as far as I'm aware, John Bertrand, is the only one in this country who is siding with the president and the non-sailing CEO. But bravo Zulu to Olympian Carol Cronin for your letter in Scuttlebutt last night. Fritz Mueller agrees, great letter for sure. She has always written so well. Yes, she is a writer, author, and a great sailor. And bravo Zulu again. Alan Long, I'm guessing the U.S. Sailing CEO won't be listening to Jody's commentary, as it'll be in sailing terms and not understood by Peter Taylor, I'd like to see U.S. Sailing propose a constructive way forward crickets. Blake Middleton up in Minnesota. Cheers, late entry from the land of 10,000 lakes. Hi, Blake. Regardless, the non-sailing CEO has got to go. And everybody on that board who voted for the lawsuit should resign, should fall on their swords, say, mea culpa, we made a huge mistake, and get the hell out and get in, let some fresh new people come forward. So, Clark Chapin, who's on here, who's our super Fozy, and has been for decades a key figure in U.S. sailing, they should let Clark come in. Clark, what do you think? Because he's level-headed, he's smart. Let's clean this up. And Clark would, I'm sure he's working hard behind the scenes.
Yes.
To try to help. Bingo! Rick Banro is saying, because they got a drinking game going. How long into the show before Eamon says the non-sailing CEO's got to go, Julia?
Yeah.
Let the record show it was 14 minutes, 37 minutes and change after the hour of 1, almost 20 of 3 o'clock here. Clearly, U.S. Sailing has to get out of the racing business. Maybe he is deep in the grass. I don't know, Stingray. Julie Ahrens, when I read that, I thought of our discussions. It is the best phrase that can be used to describe what needs to be done. Stop the bleeding. Completely agree. Right. Julie. Do you agree, Julia?
Yes.
With Julie Ahrens? She is a smart cookie, that Julie Ahrens, isn't she?
She is. And it's got to be done quickly.
Yes. And a couple of you, back on the carb topic, a couple of you have said that, reminded me, it was not Mr. Adkins, the low-carb guy. It was Jim Fix, the runner.
Oh, yes.
Who was the big advocate of running, and then did, I don't know.
But Julie Ahrens reminds us that Atkins was killed by
his wife?
No.
He slipped on his tea, as they said in the hunt for Red October. No, he slipped on some ice, right?
No. A girlfriend.
A girlfriend. Not his wife.
Yeah,
maybe the girlfriend was jealous. Okay, we're jumping all over here. To hell with this. Thank you all. Thanks first rule of holes when you're in a hole, stop digging. I hope J. Frederick Bland is referring to U.S. Sailing, not to Australia.
No. Oh.
I got another Bravo Zulu. We told you on Tuesday, and we interviewed here in studio Matt Whitfield about this terrific event called, I hope other corners of the world are doing this. I know the Great Lakes area here in this country is with the Detroit Cup, and Dawn Riley does this with a couple of events at Peter Taylor, remind me the name of the event, that you put on there at Oak Cliff, and also Sewanaka Corinthian Yacht Club in Chicago. And that is one of these match racing series put on by various clubs in a region. But this match racing event here in California, they had the third stage last weekend. They do it at a couple clubs in SoCal, and then they come up here, and it's called the California Dreamin'. All the leaves are brown. How's that song go? Da 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 da, and the sky is gray. California Dreamin'. But Ryan Siago of Detroit won that regatta convincingly. And Matt Whitfield, who'd won the first two regattas, our good friend who was staying with us, and we've interviewed them, and sorry?
How did he do in the last?
He was third.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, Matty was third.
Yeah.
And these are the guys that won. This is the team from Detroit, from Detroit, those of you who speak French. They won stage 3 here. They're representing Bayview Yacht Club, and they won last weekend. But this regatta now goes down to Long Beach, and they have the fourth and final event, stage 4, down there in a couple weeks. And you can see Matt Whitfield's on top. They have to count 3 of the 4 events, including they must count the last event. So Matt goes into this last event with a 1-1. It really didn't matter how he did here, as long as it didn't matter because he has to count this event down at Long Beach. But Ryan Siago's on his heels. He won't count the 5, and he'll have a 3-1 going into Long Beach. But I digress. The real purpose of this is to say that it's an interesting mix of senior serious match racers like Ryan and like Matt and a couple, 3 others. And then you see this 4th place in the standings overall, Sienna Nichols. Sienna Nichols is 15 years old. Her crew are 15, 16. I don't think any of them has turned 17 yet. And there's Bing Bong on here. Let's go, Nick Kofsky. Yeah, these are cool people, and they're doing what we love in this match racing aspect. But here's an interview I taped last Sunday at the prize giving with 15-year-old Sienna Nichols of Balboa Yacht Club. Sienna, congratulations. You and your crew, all from my favorite club, Balboa Yacht Club, and you didn't win, but you're what, only 15, and you're racing against the big boys and girls here at this regatta in the California Dreamin' Series.
Yeah, it was fun today. It was good. We learned a lot. It's nice having wind to practice and stuff.
It's usually a little lighter in Newport Beach, where you're from, right?
Yeah.
Down at Balboa Yacht Club, flatter water, and when you race inside, there's no real current. But out here, there's 2-3 knots of current.
Yeah, it was really good to learn because we haven't really dealt with much current, really, or wind. So it was good to practice in that, and also being able to see our speed with other boats and doing maneuvers. It was really good to learn and stuff.
How was your crew? Tell us about your crew. Introduce your crew, if you would, please.
This is Lily Brennan. She's my jib. This is Eddie Kleem. He's my bow. And then this is Maddie Nichols. She's my main. And they were handling good today. I think they did a really good job.
Does Sienna shout and scream in the boat?
Occasionally.
Really? Does she?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't.
Under stressful situations.
So who was doing what in the boat?
I was doing bow. Yeah, I was doing bow. And Lily was doing jib.
Yeah, so he was handling all the pull and swapping it during the and pulling the halyards up with the spinnaker. He was basically spinnaker, I was basically jib, and Maddie did main.
Yeah. And were you calling tactics, or you were?
Yeah, I was.
You were on the main and calling tactics.
Yeah.
You all sail together as a team, except at this regatta, or?
Yeah, we sailed together as a team for almost a year. I think or over a year, but yeah, we sailed together for a pretty long time because we started a match racing program at BYC together, and we just ended up becoming a boat, and it works really well because we all have good chemistry.
And your coach, Frankie Dare?
Yeah, Frankie's a really good coach. He helps us a lot. Always puts on boat handling and emphasis on that. And he also helps us, like, he gets in the boat and shows us everything to do and, like, races us. Yeah, he's a really good coach.
Is Jeffrey Peterson an inspiration?
Yeah, he's our hero.
Well, he is. I mean, he's won the Gov Cup twice. He's got a crack this year at winning it for a third time. Will you be there cheering for him?
Yeah, I'll definitely be there cheering for him. We'll have. Oh, yeah.
Well, do you think you have a shot at sailing?
We're going to try and win Rose Cup, and we'll see how it goes.
Where is Rose Cup and when?
I believe it is in June, the end of June, right, 26th to 30th in New York, Corinthian Yacht Club. So, I mean, we don't know if we're invited yet, but we're hoping for it.
And do you know who the Rose Cup is named after?
Yeah, Andy Rose.
You know, he says he gave the trophy, but he didn't name it. Is that true, do you think?
Probably not.
No, he's one of my heroes and long time great friends, and I'll be down doing commentary for Gov Cup. I hope you all qualify.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be fantastic. What do you think your chances are of winning Rose Cup at age 15? Will you be 16 by then or still 15?
Still 15. My birthday's in August, so. But I think even if we win or if we just go and do our best, I think it's gonna be good because racing, like especially in the youth, like all the good youth people will be there. And I think it's gonna be a really good experience for us.
Who do you think your biggest competition is at Rose Cup?
I'm honestly not sure. I haven't really looked at the list, but I'm assuming Noah and Dylan are really good.
How about Morgan Pinckney? Is he aged out or will he be there, do you know?
I'm not really sure, but
I'll text him right after this and ask him if he's going to be there. Well, good. You've represented our club beautifully. I mean, you're the best dressed crew here for sure. And I know last night when I met your parents, it was fantastic to see you here. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
We'll see you down at BYC.
Yeah, I'll see you down at BYC.
Nice going. Well done.
It gives you confidence.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you
At
very
least
much.
in the future of our beloved sport. You know, I'm still a crouton and not all that articulate, but how could anybody at age 15, is it the TikTok world? Is it social media? Is she just, a lot of you on here know her. But, you know, that was not rehearsed. She didn't even know we were going to do it. I'd interviewed Ryan. I'd interviewed Matt there around we were sitting all together at a table. Yeah. And then when I stood up, I said, hey, I'd met her last night with her, the night before with her parents. I said, why don't you come over here, sit down, bring your crew. And in fact, she sat down and the crew filled right in behind her because they'd seen it. Yeah.
Well, what fantastic kids. What a poised and focused crew and so young, Chris Exley is saying.
Yes.
Yeah, and they had no idea what I was going to ask her. We had no prep. No, it was just completely off the cuff.
Who's doing camera?
The camera, as you could see, it was a little bouncy there. It was on, I take a tripod and sit it on the table, and we kind of be sure the framing is okay. And you can always find somebody to swivel it around if you really need it, but you don't. Yeah. You just turn it on. And for those of you who are doing, and I appreciate any of you that, future stars, Camille Daniels is saying. Camille, fabulous to see you on. Thank you. Camille is the first female, the Lady Commodore at Long Beach Yacht Club. And this is 2 or 3 years ago removed, but she did a great job as Commodore. And has become a good friend. It wasn't too fond of me at the time because I was being critical of her club over some things with respect to the America's Cup, but Camille is a first class lady and act as a Commodore and beyond. I just wanted to say that for those of you who are doing this kind of stuff, I should sometime do it during the show or video a little techno segment. It's an iPhone on a tripod with a $7 thing that grabs the iPhone. Right. You turn the iPhone on, you turn the camera around. I mean, the cameras, both the forward and the back camera on the iPhone are so good that you don't have to use the back fancy camera. You can use the front-facing camera. And if the front-facing camera is way better than you really need, so you can see on the screen what you are videoing, first of all, as it's sitting on this bracket on top of the tripod. So if it's not correctly framed, you can always go over there and give it a jiggle. But more important, for $150, you can get there's 5 or 6 different versions of these things out there in the marketplace, all good. DJI, Shure, Rode, as you saw me using. And it's a little wireless. Okay, I'm doing here we go. Talk about a tangent. It's a little wireless mic that is all of this size. You see it on the kids in the YouTube videos and the TikToks, and they clip it to there, and the other end is the receiver. One's the transmitter, one's the receiver, and you plug that into the phone, the receiver, into the phone, and the transmitter, and these things last for hours on one charge, and the quality, as you could hear, was superb. And for another few bucks, you buy that stick that this slides into and puts a windscreen on it if you want to do the television news reporter style reporting. The kids don't even do that. They just hold the thing up and they do this and they do that. In fact, you're seeing more and more people just doing this.
Yeah. You dropped something.
Yeah, that's just a cable. But we need to do this more and more in our community, because you can see how adorable these kids are, what great ink it is for them and for our sport and beyond. Okay, right. Peter Taylor, Tom, you should throw up affiliate links for your preferred tech in case anyone's interested. Yeah, the affiliated links gets you, if we put affiliated links on Amazon, then you go buy, you click on that link and buy it through it. It might get us, $1.50 for each sale.
Never mind. If there was a million of them, we'd be in great shape.
Not click. I mean, it's Peter. I just have so little time to do this thing, and a few affiliate links that it wouldn't buy you a Starbucks, Even if we had time. But it's just more importantly is to get the information out there. Thank you, kids. Thank you, Julia, and everybody down at Balboa Yacht Club who appreciated that. Jeff Kitson, I think I'll go take a nap, get up, brew a pot of coffee, and enjoy F50s down under again. Good idea, Jeff. That does get us to the last leg. I have a special last leg today. Not one of these fancy videos that we like to play. And I don't know Graham Sweeney for dropping any signal, not that I know of. I have a face for radio and a voice for email. James Frederick Land. But we do have in our, we talked about it on Tuesday, just a little bit of a reprieve here, a reprise and a reprieve about Pokey or Pokey, when Ed Worley sent us his latest America's Cup History Challenge. And we decided it was Pokey without an E, the definition in American English. Pokey. Was it pokey, or pokey? And then we discovered that pokey is a slang expression for prison. We all know that, I think. I was in the pokey after having too much to drink and getting, not me, but a pokey or a nipple poking. And pokey's Australian slang for slot machines. And there is the prison on the Isle of Wight. There is, for Julia, we gave her this pokey picture and said, "Happy birthday, Julia."
Oh.
Pokey's plural. And of course, we had, for all you other reprobates, we had to have Pokey. Yeah, it's the name of Gumby's pony. We did discuss that as well. I didn't put that slide in, but is our beloved sport known for pokies? And then, of course, we pointed out that at least down in Australia, that pokies is strine. It's Australian for slot machines. And the Darwin Sailing Club general manager. But we missed one, Julia.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember what we missed? Here's your only clue.
Yes. My dinner.
Your dinner. At your birthday dinner over at the YC on Wednesday night, because that is pokey. It looks like poke. It's Hawaiian.
Yep. And
the spelling is P-O-K-E, but it's pronounced pokey, and so they anglicize it and put the accent on the E for non-Hawaiians, which, as you all know, means to slice or cut. I assume you mean slice or cut crosswise in the piece is something anglicized as pokey to aid pronunciation. It's a dish of diced raw fish tossed into sauce served. We had to do that, Julia, because the other night at your birthday dinner,
Wednesday night, the what?
At the
20th.
Commodore's table.
We're at the Commodore's table.
Happy birthday, Julia.
The St. Francis Yacht
Celebrating
Club.
Julia's 35th.
That's your 35th
Happy
birthday.
birthday on a beautiful night here on San Francisco Bay with dear friends.
Go Stanford.
Nicely organized, Jan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that's Julia's posse.
Any final thoughts?
No, where has time gone? But it's gone with good friends, and I thank everybody for being here.
It's not final thoughts or interim thoughts.
You see Ron Foreman, the lawyer, sitting there. He thought I was saying, because of your advanced age, like, do you have any final thoughts before you pass on to the next world?
No, I'm not ready.
He didn't realize that I always ask you here in the show, at the end of the show, do you have any final thoughts? Okay, that is a final thought. We've been celebrating Julia's birthday.
All week.
All week, and you deserve every second, every minute of it. It's been a fabulous birthday presentation, as it was the other night at the club, eating, as you did, poke. We split a what? We split a wedge salad, our favorite salad over there, as we wrap up the show with 3 Whiskey Tango Foxtrots. One was at yet another birthday dinner this week here at the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Yes.
With a shout out to Clayton Embley for providing the bourbon cream we told you about. Well, we did a taste test of bourbon cream against the famous Bailey's Irish cream. And Julia, we concluded.
Oh, they were both good, but right now I prefer the bourbon.
You do?
Yeah.
We all did, I think.
Yeah.
We decided the Bailey's had a bit more of a bite to it than Clayton Embley's bourbon cream.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it was interesting to compare them. I did a blind test. I could identify them barely, at least the first time that I had a sip of each.
The first sip, you were right.
First time I sipped, but after that, I couldn't.
Mm.
Great stuff. Okay, that's our whiskey tank. I was going to say, is this correct or crotonic? But Julia you can see in that picture, she's enjoying. She only had one cocktail up to that point, so she's a little pink there, Julia. Maybe that's the camera.
Yeah, maybe.
Look at over on, I didn't realize it. Look at on the left. Look at the pour I gave to Matt Whitfield. Those are his glasses there on the left. Okay, no wonder we were in such a good mood Tuesday night. Irish or bourbon without the cream is much better, Chris Exley says. Alan Long Bourbon Cream House. Yeah, Alan, check it out, because we really did enjoy it very much. Okay, now our second WTF comes from Hamish Ross. He says it's the worst typo ever. Due to unforeseen circumcisions, the dining room will be closed this evening. Sorry for the inconvenience. Only takeout and delivery only. There are a slew of very clever comments, mostly from Fozy, because they're friends of Hamish's, I suppose, on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I won't repeat any of them because most of them are. You'd be sitting here, Julia, doing your finger shake for the next.
Well, everybody can read them.
They can. The worst typo ever. Thank you, Hamish Ross, for that.
I miss Hamish Ross.
Well, he's in Helsinki, I think, with Don Riley. Yeah. AI at work. I need some AI. And finally, the cleanest one that Ted Ryman has ever sent. I assume this is a kid. I assume that's not AI. It's not Photoshopped. I assume the kid has just won a race and is having a celebratory leap.
Right.
Yeah, Steve Gruber saying, don't leave a tip. They're rolling in now. They've been cut off. Just might dislocate a finger.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Well, they'll be rolling in now. But nice one, Ted Ryman. I love this picture. It almost looks Photoshopped.
Flying.
Speaking of Photoshop, I'm sad to hear the news that the princess she really does have something more than just she's got cancer. That was sad news. So Princess Kate, we'll follow that. And gosh, Prince Charles and now Princess Kate. Tough time for those of you who are Brits and are royalists, as we are. We respect the royalty a lot and think particularly Princess Anne, who's done so much for our beloved sport, and her dad, the late great Prince Philip. Okay, that gets us to the finish line, and Julia always likes to say,
don't miss the opportunity to like, follow, and especially share.
Indeed, and we appreciate the support we get from all of you. You can leave, by the way, comments in replay, those of you watching in replay. And Sailing Illustrated thanks all of you. Without your support, whether you send us a check or some bourbon, as Clayton Embley did, or join via Patreon. Join patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. As many of you do, give us $4 or $5 a month, something like that. Some people give a lot more than that, for which we are duly and sincerely appreciative. Thank you all to the purveyors, the providers of video, audio, and images for today's show. Julia, final thoughts. I'll get Ron Foreman on my case again.
Yes. No, I really don't. It's been a good day, and it's been long.
Well, so it's only a 2-hour show. It's shorter than we did the other day.
Yep.
And we're only 3 shows away from 700. I don't know what we're going to do on 700, Julia, but we'll figure that out. In the meantime, we hope all of you have a great weekend. Enjoy Sail GP. We'll be watching with you and listening to Jody.
Yes.
And in the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. See you Tuesday.